As a cinematographer, how much gear do you own?
Varies. Sometimes I buy extra things for a project and I hang on to it. Other times I buy extra things for a project and it gets destroyed. I have right now 2 or 3 cameras, some GoPros, but I don't really use those that often on projects that I'm doing, like feature films specifically. And I've been asked several times whether I want to get in on a red camera with somebody or own equipment that's very expensive and try to rent it out and things like that. I guess I don't want to limit I feel like if I had a red camera myself, I'd probably limit myself to shooting with the red camera all the time. And I think that would be a bad thing because I would be choosing that tool sometimes in situations where it wasn't necessary or it wasn't the right camera for the job. And I think it's easy to kind of like justify it by having to pay the bills for it. But I don't necessarily want to be in the business of owning and renting cameras. I want to be in the business of making movies and being a cinematographer. That's a totally different business. It's a whole other headache to maintain something expensive like that. It's like having a Ferrari. If something goes wrong, everything's expensive to fix. It draws a lot of attention when you're holding it or driving it if you're a Ferrari. It's just again, as I said before, like if you choose to spend your time on certain things, they will spend its time on you. If I chose to spend my time on a red camera and to own it and to have all the hassles that went with that, I think I would probably get sucked into that world a little more and have to be dealing with rentals and all this kind of a process, which I don't necessarily want to do. As a person, I'm not really interested in that. So, I've had there's a possibility I might have one available to me and possibly partner up with someone on it, but it's not something that I would have to pay for. It would be as a work for hire. I'd be open to that because then I wouldn't feel obligated to use it on any given situation. It might be the right choice sometimes, and I probably would use it, but I wouldn't feel like, oh crap, I got to pay my bills on it and then try to figure out a way to work it into whatever project I'm doing. That's what I feel like would happen if I had one, or something like it, like a Alexa or something like that.
What are your thoughts on owning or actually purchasing used gear? Even from Craigslist.
I probably personally, I'm not sponsored by anybody, so I can say this. I don't think it makes sense to buy a brand new camera because it's like buying a brand new car. It kind of loses its value as soon as it comes off the lot. It's not a good investment, I don't think. If you buy a used one and get a good deal on it, then you're in good shape. Hopefully it'll last you a long time. And these days it's a little bit weird because things are starting to shift over to 4K. So you're in a, it's always there's always a weird sort of window of time where it's a bad idea to buy used gear because it's going to be too old in a year or two. But I think once things start to come out that's all 4K in like 2-3 years after that, then you can start buying some of the old 4K cameras, and it's going to be fine because it's not going to change for another 10 years or 15 years after that. And our eyes can only see up to a certain number of K, so how many more Ks can they come up with? I'm probably dating myself in this interview by saying that right now. Probably someday there's going to be like 800K and I'm going to be like laughed at. But I don't think it really matters after a certain point, resolution-wise. I think 4K is already a little bit overkill, personally. A lot of the films that I've shot that have been released in theaters have only been projected in 2K and they look just fine, I thought. 4K is pretty cool, but I don't see a difference personally. But I also don't have 20/20 vision as a cinematographer. It's kind of weird, but I have to wear glasses sometimes, so it could be just because I don't see a difference personally. But
what about in terms of editing though with 4K? Isn't that going to be more?
Sure, it's more processor intensive and all that, and it takes a lot more space up, but everything's getting cheaper. An 8 terabyte RAID tower that I have is only a few $100, whereas 10 years ago that was like a $4,000 or $5,000 hard drive, and it's all going to get cheaper. As there's more people owning 4K cameras, there's going to be more demand for more storage space, so things are going to go down in price. It's just the way it is. I don't think it's going to be much different than when SD turned to HD. People were like, oh man, there's so much data, and they were so blown away by how much data there was, but really it wasn't. Nobody's ever really worrying about it today, are they?
Can you store stuff in the cloud?
That's a little tougher still. Internet's kind of slow overall. I think a part of that is just because, well, the cable companies run everything, so they control how fast everything is. I think fiber optics is pretty rad. I've been able to use it a few times, and it's nice because you can just upload stuff and super fast. Right now I'm uploading footage that I shot yesterday. It's 26 gigs, and then unfortunately this internet I have here is so slow it's going to take like 3 days, so I might as well just drive over to my friend's house that has awesome internet and do it in like a few hours. So it just depends.